Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are live on a Sunday afternoon, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with stress. And I'm hoping that your stress has been a little less this week. I can't control that, and neither can you. Oh, can you? And that is always the question. Can we control and cope with stress in different ways? So, our topic today is going to be about whether we live in reality or whether we live in fantasy land. And I'm going to give you some real life examples of that. But before we get to that, I just wanted to say that Sharon had a birthday this week. I always like to do the viewers' special days first. I know that Jeannie had to say goodbye to her fur baby recently, and I know she picked up the ashes this week, so that must have been very traumatic for her. And Jody, I'm not sure how Lionel's mum is doing. I'm certain you can update us on that. Erin, I think, moved into her new home. I'm waiting to hear from her. And so it's been quite a busy week for a lot of you. And so my thoughts and prayers for you all. I'm not sure if that anybody had a birthday other than Sharon's on the 12th. So if you're a regular viewer and you did, please let us know so that we can make sure it's added to the database. For those of you who don't know, Dear Mama Sal is not just me. It's a group of us that get together 3 times a week to talk about life. On Fridays, we talk about our feelings. On Friday lunchtime. At Friday evenings, we talk about coping with life on a tight budget, mostly cooking stuff and stuff like that. And then here on Sunday afternoons, we talk about coping with stress because we all have it every week. And once we accept that, it's not that we're that special or that picked upon or whatever. All right, Jody's giving me an update. She says that her mother-in-law is doing well, received good news that her sight should be normal in 3 to 4 months. She's getting physiotherapy and she's getting home help as well. And that is wonderful to hear, Jody. I'm so happy because that news would make you happy. Making you happy makes you more well. So I'm delighted to hear that at many levels. How about this one? It says, do not get upset with people or situations. Both are powerless without your reaction. All right. It's how we react to things that create stress. It's not things, it's how we react to them that causes us stress, right? So we all live in fantasy land some of the time. In fact, we could call it victim land. And it's when we do not want to change anything that we're doing, but we want to change the results of it. Does that make sense? There's that old expression, if you keep on doing what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always had. So whether it's an illness or some financial issue, a death or a divorce or a loss of some sort, uh, any of these things can halt our progress. But they only halt our progress for as long as it takes for us to get our minds working again. All right? And when I say working again, I mean that we understand that we need to change in order to things to change. It doesn't miraculously happen. There's not a little fairy out there with a wand going, oh, let's make that, we'll just quickly lose 10 pounds for Sal, like that. And I'm going to be talking about those sort of real life issues in a second. It's said, and I want to talk about this business about things that happen to us over which we have no control, but falling down in life is part of life. All right? Falling down in life is part of life. Getting back up is living. Do you understand the difference in that? We all have good news and bad news. We all have things that happen to us, but it's when we can get to the point where we go, yep, that's what it is, but now how am I going to do this? Wow. Jean is just giving us an update. I'm not sure who Chelsea is. I think it's a daughter-in-law or something. I'm not sure. But she's saying she went to Chelsea's for corned beef meal. That's, about St. Patrick's Day stuff. She was not feeling well. She's pregnant and she just found out she has COVID. So I had to cancel my physio appointment to be safe. I feel fine. Well, prayers for everybody, as Jodie's so rightly saying, John's daughter. That's what I thought. Okay. Oh, so granddaughter in law, sort of, whatever. Um, but it's like it's really important. Life gets in the way, right, Jeannie? You've had so many things get in your way of your life in the last decade, especially the last couple of years. It's amazing. But you're still in there fighting. Granddaughter. Okay, thank you. My mind's not functioning correctly, obviously. So how about this quote? I like this. It said, "A dream doesn't become reality through magic. It takes sweat, it takes determination, and it takes hard work." How many of you agree with that? By the way, Colin Powell said that. So I want to start off with two examples. One from Jodie, and for those of you who don't know, Jodie is our admin, and I use her life for examples all over the place with her permission. And obviously, I'm going to quote my own because I have my own permission to share. But what I like to do is to give you real life examples to demonstrate these different lessons. Okay. So Jodie's got an issue. For those of you who don't know, when you walk, your foot goes like this. Okay. Jodie got up about 2 months ago, stood up, and her foot went like that, and it refused to come back up again. If you imagine this is her leg. So it just had this muscle here refused to pull it back up again. So she's had what they call drop foot. Now you imagine trying to walk anywhere when this foot is dragging behind you. All right. So that's just so that you all understand what's happened to her. So that's Jodie's example we're going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the fact that you all went on a journey with me last year where I quietly changed my eating habits and got some more steps in, and I lost 10 pounds in a healthy way. And I was really proud of myself for that. I'm here to tell you that I have put on the 10 pounds and one more. And I understand that some of you are going, but Sal, be kind to yourself. You've had cancer and that you'll put on weight. Yep, that's true. But listen to me, all right? You see, if you want something badly enough, and that's what you have to do, you have to be able to answer a question which says, do you know why you want this? Right? Because if you don't know your why, you're going to be living in Disneyland, in my view. And the thing is, the reason you want to know the why is because it helps you focus. All right? Helps you focus on an outcome rather than the negative side of it. So, and then you can see that each tiny step you take, it doesn't matter how small, but hang on a second. I always like to demonstrate this thing because we all need this reminder. Okay, so we're here at A, and it doesn't matter where A is, but let's presume it was me before I found out that I had cancer. So I'm busy in my life taking steps like this, all right? And over here are all my goals. And then at this point, I find out I have cancer. What happens? I take a dip. Natural, understandable, body has changed, mind has changed, eating habits have changed, everything takes a dip. But can you see that I am still as close to this goal, whatever it is, as I was before in terms of distance? Does that make sense to anybody? All I need to do is to get back as far as I can to here, and I might never get all the way back there, but then I start going from this level or from this level. I'm still as close to the goal as I was. You can't take away how close I was. You can take away this time aspect here because now I don't have the same energy and so forth. But you can't, I'm still that close to the goal. How many of you going, true? You see, that's reality. But I could make this very difficult for myself. Let's go back to Jody. So Jody decided that she didn't like this foot thing very much, obviously, and so she went to get some input on it. And one of the things that her specialist or her practitioner said is she needs to go and get an MRI. Now, that sounds okay for most of you because, what would you do? You'd get in the car, go get your MRI, and everything would be, as they say, copacetic, which means A-OK. Jody can't walk. She's got a foot that drags. That foot needs to get into a truck. A truck. Now, imagine, Jody, it must be your left foot, right, that it's causing the problem? Or no, your right. Which one is it? Your right foot. Because you can't put weight on it when you get in the truck. Hang on a second. Let me find out. Let me know. It's her left foot. Okay. So now imagine trying to get into a truck. I'm presuming we're talking a North American truck where you're going to get in from the right-hand side as a passenger. How do you get into a truck if you can't put any weight on your left foot to get in the truck? All right? And that's Jody's problem. How does she get into the truck? Now, there's part of me that goes, get Lionel to open up the back and shove you in the trunk. But, apparently that's not acceptable to her. But it would be a way if you really had to go, Jody. So here is the quote. Life is a journey between perception and reality. You see, the perception is it should be easy to get into a car or thing, but it isn't for Jody. So then you're saying, well, then she needs to get a cab. Well, yeah, a taxi. It depends what country you're in. But here is the thing. She's on a very tight budget, and that's just been made even more tight than it was before. So she doesn't have the money to just jump in order up a special cab that will take her wheelchair. Oh, interesting. Jeannie's saying she relates. She said John, her son-in-law, has a very high truck. He has to get a step stool to help me get in each time. But think again, Jeannie, whilst that is true, you can still put your weight on both feet, all right, either the left or the right, to help you get in. So what you do is you take like steps up. Think about it. Jody cannot put weight onto that one foot at the moment. However, she's been smart enough. She has enough emotional intelligence to know unless she does something, this is not going to improve, and she's going to have to buy a transport to go for that MRI if she doesn't get that foot working a lot better than it is now. Now, she's done some really good things. She's taken some good steps that I want to tell you about. She managed to get some physiotherapy come to her house and help her. And she was saying, tears in my eyes here, she was saying that physiotherapy has already started her feet she's getting these zap sensations. I totally knew what she was talking about. And the reason is when they chopped away my boob, obviously I was swollen and numb for some time, and I'm still, funny enough, still slightly swollen where they took away the lymph nodes. But part of what I know, Jody, is that zap. And every now and then I can feel a zap in the area where my body is busy trying to make new corrections for the 2 pounds it lost. And each time I feel it, I actually say, oh, that's good. You're making new connections. And I actually, funny enough, I was talking to my physiotherapist about that. because I checked with her. I said, every now and then I can feel this zap. That's how I described it as well, Jody. I can feel this zap. I'm presuming that's a good thing. And she said, oh, yeah, that's just your body making new routes for it to go and connect to things. And I said, well, that's what I thought as well. So do you understand? Jody has the choice to do nothing and not be able to get to the MRI, or find some other means to get to the MRI, which would mean finding money to be able to do that or something, but basically, if she wants to get that MRI, she needs to get that foot working enough that she can get into the truck. Or maybe find 4 hefty young men to lift her up and then travel with her, lift her out, and do it. That could be fun. Firefighters, I'm thinking, Joe. They're good looking too. So I had a similar problem in as much as when I got, as you saw, when I got the diagnosis about cancer. A lot of things happened, other than the fact I lost a couple of pounds. But you understand, my eating changed. I wasn't putting in the same number of steps. And funny enough, I was after the operation, wasn't I? I was still doing 6,000 steps a day after the operation. But when I started to take this drug that they gave me, this dangerous drug that they gave me, which is to kill off the estrogen in my body so that the sort of cancer that I have, in case a cell or two escaped, that it has nothing to feed on. That's basically what this drug is doing. It is killing off the estrogen so that my very hungry type cancer, if it's still there, has nothing to feed off. I'm not sure how long it takes to get to that point, but that's what it's doing. And I want to tell you, that has had its effect on my body, had effect on my brain, had effect on my energy. You hear about cars going from 0 to 60. I went from 60 to 0 in a pretty quick thing. But, it wasn't just the steps, was it? Then I think you all know it would be human nature if I started having more comfort food. I was low on energy. I didn't feel like cooking a whole lot. I had to cancel broadcasts. That really, because I didn't have enough energy to stand for 2 hours. It was just like there were so many things that gave me reason to not eat properly and eat comfort food. And guess what? I put all the weight back on. So do we all agree that it would be fantasy land for me to continue to eat the way I was? I've already changed, by the way. It would be fantasy land to continue to eat the way that I was and expect to lose weight. However, I think you all are very smart and you all know this one. I could blame it on the pill. Well, it says there that, weight gain is part of the indication of this pill. I could do that, couldn't I? I could blame the pill. Do you know why I think weight gain is part of that? Because you're bound to comfort eat. But you see, I've worked that one out and I've got my head wrapped around it now, and now I get to make a choice. Do I want to carry on doing that, or do I want to lose weight? Quite simple. Because if I continue to eat my usual routine as it has become, and not bother to do 8 to 10,000 steps a day, which is what I was doing, then my weight gain will continue. It's just that blaming the pill is so much easier, isn't it? What do you think? So here's the next thing. Do you agree that in order to make changes, that will take time? So not only does my eating have to change, but the time I spend preparing meals has to change. Because what is 9 times out of 10 comfort eating is quick eating, all right? I just go to the thing and just grab whatever. So to me, it was just about, okay, fine, what am I going to do here? I need to go back to portion control. Now, I've always done pretty good portion control, but obviously it's got out of hand a little bit. So it's time to go back and really look at my portion control. And it's time to take the time to do that. It takes extra time. And it takes time to plan my meals better. It all takes time. So here's the thing. If I think I've got that time without letting go of time somewhere else, I'm in Fantasyland because I haven't. We only have 24 hours in the day. Jody only has 24 hours in the day to do everything she needs to do. She's also doing things at half the pace she used to, maybe even less than that, maybe an eighth of the pace that she used to, because her leg's not working. Makes sense. It's just like, so therefore, you cannot get as much done as you did. And that's reality. That's not because you're lazy, that's reality. So here is the thing. If I am going to have the time to eat better with less energy, I need more time to prepare. Fact. And if I don't give myself that extra time to prepare food and I get frustrated with myself, I will be in Fantasyland. I will be overwhelming myself. I will be, just not being fair to myself at all. And if Jo gets frustrated because she can't, do the things she wanted to do because of her foot, she would be in Fantasyland. Imagine Jeannie. A year ago, she had a husband that did a lot of the stuff around the house, and it's getting to be spring, and there's a lot of stuff to be done outside. But he's not there anymore. God rest his soul. So this year, she's going to have to plan differently, and she's not going to want to plan differently because it was fun the way she had it, and with him. And playing with her dog, Misty Moore, who passed last week. Yeah, but unfortunately, reality says they're not there anymore. So Jeannie's going to have to spend time working out a new normal. And it won't be fun, but it needs to be done for her to carry on living, not existing. So it doesn't matter how little we do in any direction, but actually doing something in the right direction, right? Doing something, however low the energy is, still going towards B, will be your living. That's what living is. So one of the things that I realized is I'm back up to about 6,000 steps. I think I did yesterday, and I'll talk to you in a minute about some of the ways I did it. But one of the things I realized is if I can only do 6,000 steps, can I increase the effort that my body has to do those 6,000 steps? And I went, yes, I've got weights. Okay. So instead of just walking, and by the way, as you will hear, I walk while I'm watching television. Instead of just walking, I now have been walking with weights. Okay. Now, what is that? That's extra weight using more muscle. And by the way, I try to make sure that some of the time I do what I call weight training as well. But most of the time I just spend, doing this, or I will do this, stretch those front muscles. Okay. But you understand. Now, what I said to myself was, what if I don't have the energy to get back to 10,000 steps? What do I want to do? Well, you see, because planning is part of this, as you're going to hear, what I decided was I need more weight. So these are, I believe, about just, 1 pound weights. They're not very heavy. They're filled with sand. They're fine. I got some serious weights. I spent a bit of time, saved up for them. And these are, it feels like one has still got something in it. Does it? No. One feels heavier than the other. That's interesting. No, I took them out. Okay. So just on their own like this, these are now 2.2 pounds each. So does it make sense that if I walk with these doing 6,000 steps with this weight, Does it make sense? I will be doing that much more work, making my body work that much harder. All right? Does that make sense? Now, the good news is when that becomes easy, all right, then I have extra weights that I can put in here. And I think I've got it so that it goes from 2 up to about 5 or 6 pounds. I've got four extra weights for each dumbbell to each end. Okay. So now then, what if I have it as a 9-day wonder? How many of you know that one? All right. This is something you spend money on, but you only do it for a month. All right. It's not going to work if I don't use them. As I said to somebody, I remember saying to somebody once, I really found it very interesting. I've spent 2 years watching um, movies, videos, and they've done nothing to help me whatsoever. And the other person said, really, it really helped me so much. And I said, do you think if I took those videos down off the shelf and actually put them into my VCR, they would work better? Unfortunately, the person I was talking to didn't have a sense of humor. But I'm certain you guys do, because you know me well. And the reason you watch me is because you know my sense of humor and obviously enjoy it. But if I if I don't take them off the shelf and put them in the VCR, they're definitely not going to work, are they? So I reckoned if I doubled the weight, which I've now done from 1 pound to 2 pounds, and did the same 6,000 steps that I managed yesterday, I obviously would be using more of my body. So let me just see what Jody said here. She said, they're going to make a difference to you. Excellent choice. Well, you see, it's what can I do, not what can't I do. Say I can't do more than 6,000 for the next month or so. I want to make sure that I do the best I can with those 6,000 steps. Right? However, I also know that I can't do those weights every day. All right. One of the things the physio person said to me is only do weight training 3 times a week. You need to give your body time to recover each time you do weights. Did you know that? So am I happy that I'm only allowed to do that 3 times a week? You bet. But it will burn more calories. Jody is saying, progress today. I was able to get up and go to the washroom just using my cane instead of the walker. I feel like it's less support than a walker, but it's something I work on. Jody, that is incredible. All right? That is incredible. You see, you didn't just sit and moan about it. What you did is whatever you could. Do you think you'd be able to use your elliptical more? If you're able to walk with a cane, you probably can use your elliptical. That's really going to help build strength. She was saying, I've got a note about it later, but let me talk about it now. Jody was saying that since she's had that physio, she started to feel those connections. Yeah, her physio said it was okay to use it. I was surprised how my cardiologist reacted to the fact that I had a mini bike and used it. She just rolled her eyes and said, of course you do. Do as much as you want to, she said. However, Jody, whether it's you on your side or Jody saying, her physio was impressed that she had one as well. Yeah. My physio wasn't that impressed, not as impressed as I thought she would be. She was impressed that I was up to 10,000 steps a day before I started taking that pill. Anyway, so do you agree that in order to do more time on the bike, Jody, or for me to do more time with the steps, I need to let something else go, all right? Because we've only got 24 hours in the day. So the fourth point you need to remember is when you are changing things, you are going to have to allocate more time. And more time means take more time here, let go of time there. So if Jody thinks she can find more time to work on the mini bike without letting something go, she'd be living in Disneyland, right? Because the time she's currently spending other things need to change so that she has enough time to do that. Jody, that is your why. Your why is you want to get to that MRI to find out what on earth is going on, all right? And because you know your why, and you know that in order to get to the MRI, you need to get into the truck, right? Motivation. To get into the truck means you need stronger muscles, motivation. So, yes, you will find the time if your why is, I really have to get that MRI. Does that all sort of slot into place? You will always find time for what you have to do. But, Jody, you may need to give up some time playing some of your games, or in your case, watching those wonderful cooking shows. All right? Or you could get smart and say to yourself, I am only allowed to watch cooking shows while I'm exercising my legs. Now, that would be smart. In other words, you link watching cooking shows with doing work for your muscles. It's about changing your priority. But you see, I think you can multitask it. You see, that's how I do it. I don't necessarily give up the things I love. I just um, multitask things. It's like earning that TV time. But what if you did your exercises while you're watching? You wouldn't have to give up anything. You just need to multitask better. Does that make sense? So I, realized I needed to find more time to walk. Well, hello, I have little enough time as it is, as far as I'm concerned. And so what would I give up? Well, there's not much to give up. It's a bit like Jody and her budget, right? When there's nothing left to give up, what do? You have to make another plan completely. So what I said, I know that 30 minutes of walking is 3,000 steps. So that means that basically I need to do an hour's walking a day to get my 6,000 steps. Now, I normally do about 3,000 if I'm pretty slug-like, if I'm not doing much. So here are a couple of things that I worked on. Number one, as I said, I know that if I stand up and walk while I watch the news, for example, um, I can put out quite a few steps. By the way, if I'm doing it with the weights, I'm doing my body even more good. If I'm doing it and weight training at the same time, this is like, time goes by pretty quickly and I will, build strength. But yesterday I managed 20 minutes with the 2.5 pound weights. 20 minutes is nearly half an hour. I'm nearly there. You see, not only did I do 20 minutes, I did it with the 2.5 pound weights. I am building my way back. But I didn't give up binge watching. What I did was, it's going to take me a little bit longer now, to get those steps in. So now not only do I watch the news doing it, now I binge watch and walk as well. Makes sense? So make it easier for yourself. Not more difficult, make it easier. Think of what you can do. You can multitask a lot of things. Jody has now realized, and she found this out yesterday, that she has built back enough strength that she can actually stand for a little while now in the kitchen. She wasn't able to do that before. Imagine how exciting that is. But she may find that as long as she's got her cane there or some other support, that she can probably lean, a bit against the countertop, and then occasionally stand full weight, and then, take some of the weight off, and then stand full weight. She can. All the time she spends vertical is going to be helping her muscles. All right. Unless the physio tells her not to, of course. And I'm presuming that the physio is happy that she stands. So the next thing is, Jody, you can also work on the balance of your right leg. Your left leg is affected. So you can still lean on your right leg and with your strap lift your right one, and just really do some serious extra balance on that other leg, right? There's so many things that we can do if we want to. And as I found so many times before, Jody, once you've got yourself balanced against the countertop, just coming back one step, that's a whole different balance. And then, all right, there's so many other things you can do. I'm going to take one foot off the ground, pretend I can't use that foot. All right. I'm now building upper body strength. Well, you need extra upper body strength to be able to get into that truck. And the most important, my physio was telling me, the most important upper body strength we can build is here. All these things that as we grow older and we are not as well, we slouch more. So really important. Yes, Jeannie's saying people said I couldn't cook because of my left shoulder. She had a very bad situation there. They're wrong. Today I cook corned beef and cabbage. I cut up carrots, celery, and onion, potatoes. No problem. Why? You don't live in excuses. You don't live in fantasy land, Jeannie. You live in reality. I may have to do it a different way, but I can still do it. Quite often if I'm having problem cutting something up, I'll just bung it all into the blender and go, okay, that's cut up. It's not the way I would have cut it, but hey, that's cut up. And it goes. I'm getting quite good with that, by the way. One pulse or two will do it. So now then, how many of you work well with a day timer? If you do work well with the day timer, then you might say to yourself, all right, get yourself a routine. At this time of the day, make appointments with yourself. And by the way, make appointments with yourself based on the most important thing for you. If Jody, if you're getting the MRI is the most important thing to you, then you understand that is the first thing you should concentrate on every day. Right. Jeannie, listen to Jeannie. She's saying, I couldn't use the crock pot because it's too heavy to lift. So I used a regular pot and put it in the oven. You see? This is like, make a plan. This is somebody who is not living their life in excuses. They are being proactive. They're going, that doesn't work. What's plan B? All right? Plan B is wonderful thinking, Jeannie. I love you for it. All right? I mean, it lifts my heart to know that you're doing that for yourself. So many people have got so many excuses why they can't do things. But it tells me they don't really want to do it. Right. Jody's reminding us that the reason she needs that MRI so badly is she needs an official diagnosis in order to find out what it is and therefore know what to do to treat it, right? It could be a neurological thing or it could be a muscular thing, right? They've got to find out from the MRI what's causing this drop foot. So do you understand this thing about the day timer? Jody, start the day with your exercises for your foot. You will then not have to make time for it during the day. Does that make any logical sense? Change its priority. If that is the most important thing in your life to get to that MRI, all right, start with what builds the strength. Or, and I know, it's going to be Monday tomorrow, and I know what you're going to tell me. Well, Monday I do telephone calls, so, well, hello. What's more important? And I know it's all important, but you understand, make it the second thing, not the first. That's another really good thing to do, by the way, is to have different days for doing different things. I always love the fact that Jody makes calls, all right, on Mondays. I have my go out day as Tuesday. unless something happens, in which case it's Wednesday. But I try to make sure I go out in my car on Tuesdays. Why? I go collect the mail, I charge up the battery in my car because I don't use it very much anymore. I'm saving a lot of money by only going out once a week, those sort of things. And Wednesdays, I do house things. Oh, Mondays also garden, and plants and things. And then Wednesdays, I do a lot of admin sort of things. And Thursdays, obviously, is DearMamaSal Day because I do a lot of prep for DearMamaSal, as you will hear. However, what I'd like you to do before you start planning those things too much, I'd like you to find out where you spend your time. And the way to do that is really to log every hour what you're doing. I think you'll be horrified how many hours a day you waste. If you're really honest with yourself, if you're really honest with yourself, and you need to get out of fantasy land and be honest with yourself, you will be amazed how many hours you waste. Watch one thing on TikTok, you know you're going to be there for half an hour to an hour. True? That's how they built the whole thing, was to keep you glued to it. And now, golly gee, YouTube's doing it and Facebook's doing it. Everybody's on this bandwagon now. All right, which means that wherever we go in social media, Instagram, wherever we go in social media, we're going to get caught. We're going to get sucked in to wasting time. But is it okay to watch TikTok movies while you're on the mini bike? That would be smart. Or maybe do a jigsaw puzzle online while you're on your mini bike, if that's what you're going to do. Or, if you can, I can't multitask doing that and walk. So that's a no for me. So when you look at it, I was horrified when I realized how much time I spent sitting. I wasn't wasting a lot of time, but what I found out was how much time I spent sitting. Think about this. When I go to the computer to do my emails and answer stuff, sitting. Okay. When I'm doing my admin, sitting. When I'm in confetti corner, my craft room, sitting. And I realized if I want to put more steps in the day, I got to stop sitting as much. Oh, and then I've got the excuse, but my hip hurts. Well, hello. You're going to have to make a plan about that, because if you continue to sit this much, you're going to be in even more trouble. So when I watch television, sitting. Is there any way I could do any of those without sitting? What do you think? Let's go through the list. Can I do computer work without sitting? What do you think? Can I answer emails? For example, here, this is what I call my broadcast computer. That's all it does, is it sits here and does the broadcast. But, could I be answering emails standing up like Jody? Jody's busy strengthening her muscles by standing in the kitchen and being able to chop things now. What if I say, okay, fine, I can only spend half an hour sitting. The rest of the time I need to be standing. For the rest of the day, anytime I answer an email, I need to be standing, not sitting. And by the way, it doesn't have to be here. I could do it standing at the freezer. Some of you know I've got a big freezer, put a body or two in it, type freezer, like this big. In my craft room, I use it as a cutting table and for folding clothes and all sorts of things. But I could stand there. It's the same height. Yeah, hang on, let me check. It's nearly the same height. It's about 2 inches shorter. All right, so I could bend my knees and do it. Oh, that would be good. All right. So what about in the craft room? What if and that's what I've started doing. I've started only doing certain things in the craft room. In other words, Loading up the mats, I can do standing up. All right? I can load up all the mats with the paper standing up. Go pick up all the mats, take the paper with me, go to the freezer, put them all on the top and do them, and then take them back to the cutting machine. Don't have to be sitting down. I've always done it sitting down, but there's no reason why I need to. And just that little bit of extra walking backwards and forwards to the freezer will add steps. And as you know, I don't have to sit down to watch television. All right? I can walk and watch television. I can be in the kitchen cleaning up and watch television if I want to. I just got to make a better plan. So that's the next thing. Plan. If you want to get things done, you need to plan. I know that sounds like a waste of time. I haven't got enough time anyway. What are you telling me? What was it that the Dalai Lama, Gandhi said? Got a very busy day today, therefore I need to spend an extra hour meditating. You see, the most important thing you can do with your day is to plan it and then work the plan. Not to sit for hours planning it and do nothing, but to actually plan it and then do it. You and I both know what happens in a day is you plan it perfectly and then you get distracted everywhere. And and then you get distractions on the distraction, and then distractions on the distraction. You don't keep that focus. So plan it according to your focus, Jody. That's what I'm saying. And then keep a focus sheet. Now I've started doing this. Okay, so this says Sunday. I'm not going to put it up there because it's private, but the top says Sunday focus. And then the number one thing, if you only see the top thing, it says, Dear Mama Sal. What is the most important thing for me to do on a Sunday is the broadcast, right? It's not immovable unless I'm really, really ill. However, doing the broadcast takes a lot of preparation. So it's not just the broadcast time, it's the 2 hours plus that it takes for me to put it together. So that takes a lot of my Sunday. But it was my number one focus, and the trick is not to leave it other than to get up and go to the washroom or get up and get more coffee, is not to leave it until it's done. Will there be distractions? Reality. Will there be distractions? You bet. In fact, my distraction today came from Jody. I was busy working away, sitting down. I could have done it standing up, but I was busy working away, and Jody sent me a comment about some dessert. And I thought I was really good, and I said, I will have a look at that as soon as I finish putting the broadcast together. You see, this was about, I took the distraction time enough to just reply and say, just let her know I wasn't going to look for it right now, but I would, check it after I'd finished the broadcast. Well, Jody, she's so helpful. So what did she do? She sent me the picture. Now I not only had it in my mind, I now have the picture of it in my mind, and I'm working out that I can make that. No, don't be sorry that you interrupted me, honey. No, don't do that. You see, it's my choice whether I let it distract me or not. True? Don't you change who you are. I love who you are. Think about that. So my first trick was right, which is I'll have a look at that when I finished. But I burst out laughing when you sent me the photograph because I thought, she's done that to save me time. I know, Jody. But now I'm drooling. Now I need to know more. Plus, I need to know how to pronounce it, and I'll talk about that in a second. But, it's just like you'll be amazed how distracting that can be. But then I checked the time and went, okay, fine. So you need to keep adjusting the time you give to your focus task, all right? For every minute I give to that dessert, I have to make extra time the other end to finish writing the broadcast. And you have to keep deciding what you want to do. You see, I can't blame Jody. And Jody shouldn't stop being Jody. I just need to know I am responsible for how I spend my time. I could shut down Messenger for the whole time that I'm doing creating. True? That's my choice. So let's go back to this food thing. Would you agree that less bad food and better portion control would equal weight loss to some degree? Even if I'm taking a drug that apparently has putting on weight as one of its contraindications. Maybe I need to really eat a lot less bad food. In other words, that what was pre-drug time may not be enough. I may need to do it even more so, and I may need to have even better portion control and even more steps if my body is reacting to that drug by putting on weight. I have a feeling that putting on weight has to do with comfort eating when you're on this thing. But the only way I can find that out, it's like Jody and the MRI, right? The only way I can find that out is to get back to doing 10,000 steps a day, get back to eating properly, and see if my weight systematically starts to drop again. By the way, it's also going to have a problem. I have to measure my arm 5 places every month to see if it's expanding because of lymphedema, something that Jody has a problem with as well. So, it's like at the moment, of course, it's going to be swollen because my whole body is swollen. Another reason to do more steps and more work on Billy the Bike. But, I looked at it another way as well. Jody, would it be fair and in reality to say that all your hard work might not bring back total use of that foot? But it might. And so until you find out, like me, and until you find out how far the exercise and the positive thinking and everything else help you, you will not be able to get to the MRI and find out what the diagnosis is. And even then, if you don't do the right things, it's not going to help you enough to get you back to where you get full use, and unless it's possible. And then how many people have heard that it isn't possible and prove people wrong? Right? So my attitude is everything you can do to get you to that MRI is so important. And if you keep that as your number one focus every day, before I do anything, I'm going to do what gets me to the MRI. And anybody else who tries to disturb me, it's called, excuse me, I need 15 minutes. Right, Jody's saying, right, we don't know if it's reversible, and that is causing stress. But I'm moving forward and treating it as if it is reversible. Absolutely. Having stress about it is not going to fix the problem. Right. And Jeannie's saying that's important. Do not believe the worst. Prove them wrong. First of all, don't awfulize it. All right? First of all, get to the MRI and find out what it is. What if you worry yourself into another major anxiety attack? What if you worry yourself into whatever it is and find out, hey, it's just one of those things that's going to take 3 months and you'll be fine? Would you feel stupid? It's a bit like me knowing whether or not I should take this drug, right? And the question was, yeah, it's got some horrible side effects to it, but how are you going to feel if 6 months from now you find out you've got cancer again because 1 or 2 cells escaped and you didn't kill them off? How would you feel? Stupid. So that's why I'm taking the drug. So when I look at it, I can multitask a lot of things. I was really happy yesterday. Now, one of the things was I had some work to do in the garden. I wanted to I made all my own topsoil ready for the spring by composting and stuff during the year, and then it all broke up during the winter. And now the worms have done a great job, and it looks really healthy soil. So I'm busy putting healthy topsoil on top of my flower beds at the front of the house, which obviously is over there because I keep pointing there. But last year I could do that by the bucket load. This year, half bucket. And so therefore I could beat up on myself, and how pathetic is that? I can only carry half a bucket of soil now. Or I could say, oh, that's good. It's going to take me twice as many steps to get to the front of the garden and back again each time. Can you see there's a positive in it? And so I was chuckling each time I filled up my half bucket. I went, well, there we go. That's another few. I don't know. I would imagine I probably did 300 steps there and back at least each time. So I actually was laughing most of the way because it was like forced extra steps by filling the bucket half. But it also cleared up another goal. Excuse me. It also was working on another goal of mine. You see, part of my spring, and we're into that, part of my spring thing is to spring clean the garden, deadheads and tidy up the leaves and do things like that. So what I did was during the winter, I put all my autumn leaves over my beds to protect my flowers over the winter. Does that make sense? I put them all over my flower beds and my planters, stack leaves in. Then what I do to tidy up my garden in the spring is I cover the leaves with dirt. Now I've got natural compost happening underneath the dirt, and the worms are busy chewing through the leaves all through the summer. All right. And then by the time it gets to fall again, I've got really healthy stuff in my gardens. And the system works really well for me, I have to say. So not only am I getting extra steps in, but I'm also achieving my goal, and it's a high focus in spring, is to tidy up the garden. Do you see, it also has a third thing it does for me, because part of my health goal every day is to get fresh air. Going out, carrying the bucket half full, to the garden, stepping, coming back. I'm getting fresh air all the time. You see, I used to see everything as exercise. I don't anymore. I see it as achieving different goals. For example, I am busy working on something at the moment that's going to need to go in the mail either today or tomorrow. And I could take the car and take it there, or I could take a walk down to the post boxes and mail it. Now, you see, it's all about choices that I choose to make. Do I have the time to do that? Yes, of course I do. And by the way, what if I walk down to never thought of that. What if I walk down to the post boxes and back carrying my weights? Probably a good idea. My neighbors will think I'm insane, but they already think that anyway. Want to go back to the excuses. Do we agree that there will always be interruptions and excuses? And they will get you nowhere. If you allow the interruptions to disturb your focus, you will not achieve your goal in the time you wanted to. Highly effective people always do the most important thing first in a day. And it might not be what anybody else thinks is the most important thing. It's what they consider to be the most important thing. Right? And what I am doing is keeping my focus sheet in a place where every time I pass my freezer, I check it. All right. On my way to the washroom, yeah, fine. I'm off focus again. So on the way back, I make sure that I focus. Does that make sense? So have somewhere that keeps you accountable. And obviously, once I finish the broadcast, I move on to the second focus for today. And my second focus for today is a goal that isn't necessarily the most important to me, but it's one that's going to make a psychological difference. All right. I'm going to clean everything off my dining room table. One of the things I know about decluttering is either take a drawer and empty everything onto a worktop and then clean it and then systematically put only half back. I want to tidy up my dining room table. At the moment, you can't see this, but I want to tell you, it's got plants on it. I'm growing some peas and beans there. It's still got some Christmas decorations on it. It's March. Do you know why? Because I make those Christmas villages, and it's great for decoration. So I need to put them aside somewhere, but I can still pull them out. But that is the wrong place. But the reason they're still there is because has anybody got a poinsettia looking like that? And it came to me about 3 weeks before Christmas. It's March, for goodness sake. I got to take a picture and send it to the person, but obviously it loves it where it is. So I have no wish to relegate it to the whatever yard. Does that make sense? And part of me says, is a poinsettia the same as an amaryllis? Hang on a second. Some of you may recognize an amaryllis by these incredible leaves. And it has these big flowers on it that come up. You probably know what I'm talking about. Now, somebody bought me this when I had my cancer operation. But when it started to die back, I looked up, can you keep them going? And the answer was yes. It's not difficult. What you do is you cut off the dead leaves, all right, like this. And then you stick it in a dark cupboard for about 2 months. But once a month, I used to give it a little bit of water just to make sure it was still alive. But it took about 6 weeks, and suddenly I had growth starting. It was like this. So once I could see that it was growing again, I brought it out and put it back in the light, and look at it. It's growing beautifully. So I'm wondering, is a poinsettia the same? Which is even after, it's beginning to die back, but I'm getting new leaves on it. But I think to get the red leaves, you have to put it in the dark. That seems to be my memory. But you can understand I'm not in a hurry to put this away off my table. And how impressive is that I have had one that still looks that healthy. January, February, March. It's that healthy for over 3 months. I'm so proud of myself. You're going back in a second. Don't panic. So, and talk to your flowers, people. Please remember to do that. So you understand what I'm saying. These are all about choices I make. Now then, I was telling you what else is on the dining room table. There are a lot of charger plates. These things. Okay? And there's a reason for that is because I've been putting the Christmas villages on there. So I've got to find a new home for them. Good idea to put them there while I was taking pictures, but now they need to find a home. I've got a couple of bottles of wine. Maybe I should drink those. And I have got place settings. That are time. They've been there for 3 months, people. Time to put them through the wash and put them away. Okay. However, I like to keep it all there because it looks like people came for dinner last night. You know what I mean? It looks busy. It's sort of. So I look at it and go, By the way, Jody, about the wine, I do most of my wine drinking in my cooking. I'm going to be quite honest, right? If you look in my fridge, you'll find half a bottle of wine there, and I use that whenever I cook. I put some wine in. Interesting. Jody's saying the poinsettia is a variation of a shrub. Yep. You know, in Africa, they used to grow wild. Yeah, I like red wine in any gravy. Always gives it extra cost. Isabel saying, I drive people crazy with the poinsettias at work. I don't want to discard them, and each year we have two. I keep them, right? They have no more red flowers, but they're great. Yes, it's up to you. And you know, if it drives other people mad, their problem. As you can tell, this drug is now having what I call my hot flush moment. Every day I go through these incredible moods, temperature changes. 1 minute I'm so cold, you know, my extremities are ice cold. And the next minute I'm busy. I've got cardigans all around the house, you know, because I have, depending on where I suddenly had that need to get rid of a layer. That's what I've learned, is just dress in layers. So I can dress almost in summer clothes at the moment and I'd still be a little warm. All right, so let me ask you a question. If I didn't take the time to focus on the broadcasts every week, if I didn't take that time, would the broadcasts happen? Or would they have a cohesive element to them? See, that's the whole thing I want you to see, is if you don't make the time, if you don't plan what you want to do and how you want to do it, it won't happen. And it is a fact, in any business person will tell you that although, and I believe Colin Powell also said that most plans don't work, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't plan. I think, was it Colin Powell? Somebody said that. Most plans, plan A doesn't work, but you should still plan. Here's it said, when you give importance to people, they think that you're always free. But they don't understand that you make yourself available for them every time. True? The time you spend talking to somebody online, you make that time available to somebody. All right, Jody's saying, if I didn't spend the time planning and crafting, I like to call it crafting because it's part of my creative work, then the broadcast would be disjointed and not cohesive. And then Jeannie's saying, how could it go on without you? You're the leader who directs things. Right. And to me, I'm always looking, what lesson do we all need reminding of today? All right. I've been doing it for 10 years. 3 times a week, I need a new topic. It takes a bit of thinking. So some of you know that part of my focus is now on decluttering. And it's taken a lot longer than I thought, but I gave myself and we have a little group of people who are decluttering together. And I gave everybody a commitment that I would spend 15 minutes a week. Now, sometimes that 15 minutes is really strange. It's literally bending over my shredding machine and shredding papers from 2008. I found a whole box of stuff from 2008, but you cannot just throw it all away because you don't know what's in there. It could be important, right? So I have to literally take each piece of paper and look at it and go, okay, that can go, that can go. And now the difficult thing is I've come across binders of, let me show you. This is a binder of a seminar I gave about building champions. How many of you going, oh, you should give that one, Phil? And also, this is a speech I did for the consulting engineers of Oregon, right? So on fear-free presentations, funnily enough. So you understand, I have got a whole stack of binders. People paid big money to have me talk for an hour. And a lot of that stuff I've still got on binders. Now, how many of you know that's really difficult to throw away? And how many of you know just by opening up one binder is going to waste another 10 minutes? And I still won't throw the binder away. But do I have to? So part of my new goal and focus is if I really don't want to throw it away, I don't have to. I'm trying to take big boxes and turn them into smaller boxes. So do you understand? If I don't want to throw it away, it's valuable stuff. All right. I might still use them for broadcasts. I probably get some great ideas for broadcasts that I haven't thought of. I could scan them. All right. But I could also just put them all into a banker box or two. All right. Take them out of the big box and put them, just the binders with the stuff in it, into a couple of smaller boxes and keep them for another year and see whether I want to use them. And if I haven't opened them up in another year, now that I've reminded myself the great material that's in there, it saved me a lot of prep for broadcasts, right? I definitely think banker box is the way to go. And if you put one binder this way and the next one that way, and the next one this way and this way, they're all in these. This used to be my corporate color. So I could fit quite a few in there. And Yvonne has more banker boxes to send me, so that is good. In the meantime, I will find an Amazon box or something to put them in. The main thing is I have taken them out of the original box and purged what I can out of the original box. Now, what I found is, I think I told you that the decluttering is, the next thing is to build the trellis. Did I tell you that? But that's what I was going to tell you, I think. Anyway, so the main thing is, the next thing I want to build is another trellis. I don't know if you remember last year, I actually built a trellis that was meant to be, it was meant to be a clothes hanging thing. And it is awesome. I've got to show you because it's so clever. And so basically, if you could imagine a clothes drying rack that looks like this, it has a pole on it like this, right? That's normal. And you hang your clothes on it, to dry after they come out of the washing machine, right? Well, this one, for some reason, has a design that for some reason, I cannot get the wheel section of it to fit properly. And so I complained and they sent me a new one. Guess what? Same problem. So then I went, okay, well, obviously this is not working for me. But what I love about it is it has very clever design to it. For example, each of these rods here has a shelf that comes out like this, okay? Both sides. So you can actually have like a platform. Can you see that, understand that? So this comes out, folds out like this, and it folds out at the back like that. And so you've got layers, great for seedlings. That's what I realized. I was looking at it one day and thinking, do I throw this out? I'm going, no. Great for seedlings. And then I realized it's got this end section that just has this rail. And I went, great for tomatoes. I think it's got a couple of things on it. Great for tomatoes. And so because these come out so far, once the frost is gone, you can put things out in sort of quite far out and still have it grow up. All right. And then this one grows on the inside and it's got lots of support because of all those little railings. Brilliant. And it actually looks very modern because it's stainless steel. So I haven't told anybody else what it is. Don't tell anybody, people. And it worked so well that I have a a greenhouse cover that fitted it perfectly. So once it got to about late September, I could cover it with the greenhouse cover and my tomatoes still continue to grow right the way through to November, mid-November. It was wonderful. So now what do I know? I can start growing stuff out there probably the beginning of April. Right, my seedlings I can put out there and they'll be protected from the frost in there, especially if I were to put a light bulb in there to keep it extra warm. So now I've got a second one. I liked it that much. But here's my thing. That's going to be the next thing for me to declutter. How long will it take me to put it all together? Probably quite a while. I'm not going to worry about times anymore. All right. I'm not going to put myself into that situation. I have to have it finished by mid-April. No, I'm just going to say it takes as long as it takes. With the energy I've got, I'll give it 15 minutes a day. The first thing will be to take everything out of the box. I think that will probably take me 15 minutes. And that's okay. And the next day, maybe I got a couple of poles put together. And that's okay. Because by the time a couple of weeks is up, that will be out of my studio, built, and it'll go to my garden, probably when somebody comes to visit to help me carry it out. Am I making any sense? But if I don't give it 15 minutes a day, what will be sitting on the floor there a month from now? That trellis in a box. And I know as I talk to you about this, you've all got something in your mind, right? You've got a box full of things that you don't want to go near because it's too difficult. Don't worry about it. Just go in there and do 10 minutes of downsizing it. Imagine it as your downsizing project is just to open the box. Some days I just open a box. And then what I do is every time I go past the room, I go and pull one thing out of the box. Why? Because I know that I have done something to help declutter. The emotion is daunting. Absolutely, Jody. And I believe that it's possible. If you can just, you understand, every time I touch one of these, does it make sense? I relive the years that I was on tour and people were paying me a whole stack of money to stand up and give this presentation. And then does my heart get sad a little bit that I don't have that in me? And I go, wait a minute, I do that every week now. The difference is I don't get paid a whole stack of money for doing it. But you know, it's just like, I still am doing it. It's what I do. I'm not going to change that. I love doing it. But the emotion attached to it is huge. And I understand that now. So, hey, plan B is okay. So I asked how many of you like working with daytimers. I once said at a seminar, if I had the focus to work with a daytimer, I wouldn't need one. I remember saying that in a seminar one day, and I got a standing ovation for that. How many of you agree with me? Sometimes doing the planning takes more time than doing what you're doing. How many of you got more lists of lists? You know, not only do you have a to-do list, you have a list of the to-do lists. And, you know, I really want to thank one of our viewers who has ADHD, because she reminded me how difficult life is when you don't keep focus. And so therefore, I want to have this final word with you all right? And that is this. If you hate planning because you never do what you said you would, how many of you fall into that category? Right? You actually give up planning because you end up with so much that you just overwhelm yourself. Don't blame planning. Blame the person who lives in fantasy land and believes that you can do that much. Does that make sense? So now then, you remember I was talking about this focus sheet, okay? As I get ideas during the day, and that's 9 times out of 10, it's how I write my broadcast, because all week I'm busy keeping notes of things that I've seen. And I just keep them and put them into a place at night so that I've got stuff to talk about. But here is the thing. If you get overwhelmed, it means that you are not boxing up your ideas. All right. So Jody, let me get a clean sheet of paper here. Wait. Can you see that, Jody? So here is the trick. This week, you may want to do all of these. Fantasy. What if you say, I am only, and I do mine in categories, Jody, right? That's what I'm trying to work on. Here I've got my, DearMamaSal, Sunday, so it starts with it. Home, admin, relaxation, craft corner, health. You know what I mean? I've got categories of stuff. And then I go, if I only do one thing, what would it be? I am almost incapable of putting one thing down. Do you know that? And I'm sure you would as well, Jody. So the next thing I have to focus on after this is actually down here. It's number 2 is relax. And the idea was I was to relax watching the tennis. My favorite tennis player is in the final of the Indian Wells. So therefore, I can't find where he's playing. I couldn't find it anywhere, but maybe I'll be able to watch it. If not, I have him on my cell phone so I can see what the score is. So I could sit down, relax, and still check the scores, what's going on. I just wouldn't have the excitement of watching him. The other thing I have is walk to the mailbox if I'm that far, which I'm not yet. So then the third thing, focus-wise, Jody, was home. Clear the table. Don't have to clean it. Clear it. That's all I have to do. Doesn't even say put everything away. Just clear the table. I'm pretty sure I can clear it and put it away. And then during the week, I will add clean the table and probably find a new home for the poinsettia, or I might put the poinsettia right back because I know it likes it there. But I think the Christmas garland underneath it is going to go. Right? I've got 3 things under home. Apparently, I also want to do the kitchen floor. But you understand, I couldn't put one thing. I understand that. But I didn't leave enough room to put more than 3, and the rest has to go on this side. But what if I only gave myself 1 hour to do those things, or half an hour to do those things? You understand? It's up to me how I keep focus. Now, for my admin, I need to do some input. And I want to talk about that because how many of you have finished your taxes? And I was wondering whether that's relevant. Have you spent enough time doing the stuff you need to do for your taxes? Jody, when do the taxes have to be in for the US? I think you've got a longer tax time now than you did. But then I also have here, obviously, my health, which is the 6K. And normally I do that somewhere between 5 and 7 o'clock at night. I have a sort of time in my mind. So do you understand? Stop working with the day timer. Start working with the categories. The most important category I can work on today, Jody, for you would be health. Right? It's the most important category. If you haven't got that, what have you got? All right. If you haven't got the MRI, you're not going to be able to relax. So everything you do is towards the MRI. If you don't spend time working your taxes now, how stressed will you be, everybody, when it comes to April the 15th or when the 18th or whatever it is, right? And even if you start now, it's still going to be stressful. Now, a few people, very few, will go, oh no, mine already done. Anybody that's watching right now, let me know. But I can assure you, if you don't make the time to make it your focus, you are going to be so stressed. But how can I do that as well as everything else? Spend 15 minutes a day focused. You'll be amazed how much you can do. And by the way, you've known for a year that it's coming up. Don't blame the government. Don't blame the system. Don't gripe and moan. Don't talk about how to cheat it all. Start giving it a time until it's done. And you know it will be because you've done it every year. Oh, interesting. Jody's saying that's one stress that she doesn't have. We don't need to file. The medical paperwork takes over the tax stress. Yeah, I want to tell you something. The time you spend on that medical paperwork is just amazing. By the way, that trellis I was talking about, you know, it's been sitting there since the beginning of winter. Why? Because last summer, I knew that I really liked the way that that first trellis worked and I wanted a second one. I spent the time planning how to get a second one. In other words, what is the cost? How much do I need to save up? When do I need to order it by? How long do I need to make it so that it'll be ready for spring? I started working on getting that trellis in September. It took me until late November to actually afford it. And then it's been sitting there waiting for the right time to start building it. It is not that I've got that much money or that much time, or I planned it that way. Am I making any sense with this? The reason it's ready for me to build is because I planned that it would be ready for me to build, and I took the right steps to get it there. So now, the question is, will I give it the time to make it? All right? Will I have the focus to build it? Will I give it the time it deserves? There are no coincidences, people. It takes time, takes planning, takes effort, and takes follow through. Now, I might not even be able to lift it and get it to the garden on my own, which was not something I had planned for. So I may have to sort of coincide this with a visit by somebody and go, oh, while you're here, can you help me get this into the garden? Which won't be what they expected. Or I can say, don't wear good clothes because we may be taking a trip into the garden because I need to put something there and I can't do it on my own. It's my new plan. So I went through my list of people that I want to keep in touch with and who would I want to cook dinner for so I won't be lonely. And I went, okay, that person, very good at doing manual things with me. And they always make me laugh. So that's a really good thing. We can get that out there. And even if it falls apart, we'll have a lot of laughs doing it and putting it back together again. Get the idea? However, Jody, back to the focus. If you've got that many things on the list and you've got twice that many, this is my weekly list, Jody. This is for my week, what I want to health-wise home, right? And then I try very hard to only put one thing in the day. It is so difficult because I have, like you, I think of 1,001 things. The other thing is, if it's a weekly thing, all right, keep it on a weekly list. Don't put it in a daily list. The chance I don't put stuff in there you're going to do anyway. Right? Do not brush my teeth. All right? Don't clutter up the list. Use the list as your focus, as well as doing everything else that I do in a day. What one thing do I want to focus on? It is so difficult to put in one task, but if you've cleared the task, by the way, Jody, and the rest of you, you do understand that if I clear all of these tasks today, in other words, did stuff for DearMamaSal, did stuff for my home, did stuff for my administration work, did stuff to relax, if I did stuff in Craft Corner, and if I did stuff for my health, I would be living a pretty balanced life. Does that make sense? But if I spend all day on DearMamaSal and don't do anything else, my life is not in balance. Unless I spend all Mondays doing the housework, right? Or all Tuesdays doing admin. Tuesdays is go out day. But you understand what I'm saying? So you could do it that way. But make things a focus. I like having Tuesdays as go out days. All right. I picked today because of Jody and Monday. I love the fact that she did all her phone calls, even though they will continue through the week. I know that. But Monday is her big thing about making phone calls, right? When she knows she's going to make a phone call, she slots it in for Mondays. If I know I've got to go out for something, I slot it in for Tuesdays. Now, sometimes that doesn't happen until Thursday because of bad weather or not feeling well or whatever. But I've got the focus there. Wednesdays, garbage day. Get garbage out. By the way, it's not only get the garbage out, it's get the garbage out of the fridge. I link the two. So I got fed up with the Pasteur experiments in my fridge. So what I said was on garbage day, I'll also take garbage out of my fridge. It works. Focus is the key. If you can keep focus, you will keep living a much better life. This is DearMamaSal saying thank you for your time. I hope this has been of value. I hope that the time I spent was well worthwhile, and that at least once or twice you had a reason to smile at yourself. Because I believe when we can smile at ourselves, then we really are accountable. This is DearMamaSal saying have a wonderful week. Thank you, Jody, for all the examples you let me share. And we will see you on Friday, God willing. Bye-bye for now.